Alright, y'all, welcome back to another episode with Romellus Wilson. Welcome back to my page. I appreciate it. I don't know why I just said my name in third person, but anyway, welcome back. How? Grateful for you to be here. This is my second long-form content video, so I'm still a little bit nervous, but I'm going to keep putting content out because why not? My whole motto lately has been, do it afraid. So, here I am. Something that's been on my mind, especially with us being at the top of the year, and something that kind of comes around this time of the year every single year for all of us, is this notion and this idea of resolutions. So I want to talk to y'all about resolutions today. Somebody turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor resolutions. I'm just kidding. But like real talk, I want to talk about again this idea and this notion that we've set around what it means to have resolutions and very specific resolutions. I looked up the definition of resolutions recently. Because again, I've always kind of found it to be so absurd, and I've also found it to be quite shame-inducing whenever you have when you set these very specific goals, and then when you don't meet them, or life happens, or things interrupt that goal, or you getting to that goal, then you have this deep-seated shame that you're sitting with. And I think that's something that has made me question the idea of resolutions. So I looked up the definition of resolutions, and it simply means making an absolute decision, meaning I'm going to do this very specific goal, I'm going to do this very specific thing with this very specific measurable outcome. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that at all. If you're at work, great, let's have some metrics and some specific goals and an objective that we want to meet. Let's have some key milestones by the end of this quarter. But I think when it comes to us as human beings, with something being so absolute like a resolution, and with you putting a specific demand on yourself to meet a specific and to have a specific outcome, it leaves no room for variables, for things to happen, for things to change, for you to pivot, because that's literally what life does. It changes, it pivots all the time. So I think that's one of my biggest ideas with this idea in this notion of us having very specific resolutions. My second piece that I think that really sits with me around this idea of resolutions is I think it often stems from capitalism, and especially within Western culture. It's something we've been really conditioned to think that we always need to be going somewhere. We always need to be reaching a goal. We always need to be measuring something. If we're not doing this, then we're not good enough. If we're not comparing ourselves to this person, if we're not meeting this metric or this standard, then we're constantly putting this pressure on us to exist and show up in a certain way. And when we don't, introduce shame. So I think a way that I'm going to approach my New Year's resolutions this year, is I'm changing my practice by having no resolutions. I don't want to give myself a specific box to put myself in and then tape it up with shame, and then when it's not met, then I'm angry or hurt or disappointed or frustrated. So that's one of the first. So the first piece that I want to share with you all is, can we get rid of the resolutions? Like, we don't beat them, scram, bye. We don't need the resolutions. In step two, to go a little bit further around ridding yourself of the resolutions, I think what I'm now doing is practicing more curiosity around what resolutions I did actually have. What resolutions did I actually set? Where did they come from? Where are they deriving from? What's the root? What voice is really behind that resolution? For example, you want to lose weight. Yeah, like I've always, let's have a vulnerable moment now. I've always had a little insecurity about my stomach sometimes. I'm in shape for the most part, but any weight that I do gain always goes right here to my belly. So for each year, I always have this new goal. I'm going to get my stomach flat. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that and the other. But when I thought about it, growing up, I would, get made fun about my stomach and things like that. Not as much, but here and there, maybe a few little voices that I think from my past. And I think, quick side note, I think a lot of times we have a lot of voices from our past, and usually it's actually like 3 or 4. Like the 3 are that one bully who said something from the past, who made that one comment at that one moment, and it became a core memory, and now we think, oh, I'm ashamed from our past. And I think in reality, we need to go back and question some of these stories and some of these narratives. And was it really a whole bunch of people, or was it like these 3 little really insecure individuals who had something to say about it? So I think what I'm really doing is practicing more curiosity around what my resolutions are and why I even have them. Do they actually relate to me? Are they resolutions that are coming from me, or are they stemming from childhood trauma? Is it stemming from me feeling like I wasn't good enough, or there's something within me that's not good enough, or I still need to meet this goal to feel like I've accomplished something, or is simply existing and living this year good enough? Is simply having breath in my lungs, simply showing up, simply being kind, simply just being a human being? And I think in our Western society, and especially with capitalism driving so much of the narrative with how we move, we've lost so many elements of what it means to just simply exist, and that there's nothing wrong with just existing. There's nothing wrong with not having 18 million goals and having all of these sometimes and often unattainable metrics and goals that we often are putting on ourselves that don't really stem from us. They stem from a shaming voice from our past. They stem from a shaming voice from ourselves. They stem from imposter syndrome, or from us needing to look a certain way by comparing our bodies or our self-worth or our value to somebody else. And I think that's the idea that resolutions can sometimes envelop, and they can sometimes encapsulate that type of energy. So I think for me, I'm practicing more curiosity around any goals or metrics that I've set for myself. And why? I want to lose weight because I want to have longevity in my life. I want to lose weight because I don't want to end up with diabetes, because I know it specifically runs in my family specifically. I want to lose weight because I went to the doctor about 8 months ago. They mentioned you're on the verge of being pre-diabetic. I used to want to lose weight because, again, with my stomach and with people looking at it, and if I wear this shirt, if I don't wear a jacket or a sweater over this to make sure. And those, I'm realizing that wasn't really stemming from me. That was stemming from external sources. And I don't think we really question a lot of the sources that are feeding into who we actually are, but I think we need to spend more time practicing curiosity around what is feeding our narratives, what's feeding our goals, our resolutions, and what we're trying to go towards. So for a quick basic recap, 1, forget the resolutions. Yeah, we don't let's forget the idea or the notion of putting ourselves in a specific box. 2, practice curiosity around any objective or goals that you've set for yourself. And I think 3, it leads me to the final aspect of practicing intentionality. Being intentional about how you choose to show up, how you choose to approach your year. Being intentional about allowing moments for curiosity. Like if I set a specific attention, meaning I'm going to allow every week at from 4 to 4:30, I'm going to set that time aside to go sit down, journal, and ask myself specific questions about myself. That's being intentional. Setting a goal is, I'm going to journal every day, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And then when you don't do that, then 1 week it kind of falls off, the next week it falls off even more, and the next thing you know, it's kind of gone, you've forgotten all about it. And then when you do remember it, you're shaming yourself, or you're liking a meme that's talking about it. So what I want to do, when I'm encouraging other people to do, and what I'm really practicing for myself this year is practicing intentionality. Because the other beautiful thing about being intentional is I can have my attention set on this specific outcome, but intentionality allows room for pivoting. It allows room for mistakes. It allows room for things to change. My intention may be, again, if you're in a relationship, you have a spouse, your intention may be, I'm going to buy say you're in the first 4 or 5 months of dating, I'm going to buy my spouse some flowers for them so they can have that. So that's something that they can have for themselves, because maybe they'll like that. And then your spouse says, okay, well, thanks, great, but, and they don't seem too enthusiastic or excited about it. I think that's a perfect example of us understanding that our intentions are good, but sometimes the impact of what it is doesn't always equate to what we actually wanted. So I think the beautiful thing about intentionality is sometimes it's painful, but intentionality allows room for you to make mistakes and simply be a human being. It allows room for you to pivot and change your process throughout the year, to change your plans as you're moving and navigating life, to change how you want to do something. Sometimes, even though my intention was to do this, maybe the impact of it was this, so now that gives me the ability to actually pivot and do something else. Because the impact is how we measure whether our intention worked, or it was good, or if it saw the other person, or if it saw ourselves. So I think that's what I'm practicing this year, is practicing intentionality around my goals, around what I want to do. Because intentionality is a tethering of sort. It keeps you tethered to what you originally wanted to do, and especially when it's coming from you, especially when you practice curiosity around what is it specifically that you want for yourself. So as a quick recap to this clip, because I'm going to keep it short today, but as a quick recap, I think we can forget about the idea of specific resolutions. And I don't mean not having goals or, outcomes for ourselves, but I do mean not boxing ourselves into specific outcomes. And when they don't happen, when life does adjust or shift, then we shame ourselves. So we fall into the shame spiral. Two, I think it would behoove us to genuinely practice some real curiosity around whatever things we want to obtain this year and why we want to obtain them. Because then what that can do is save us a lot of time, a lot of shame, a lot of going back, a lot of questioning and confusion later on in the year, or a lot of, I'm in the same pattern again, the same programming. Curiosity allows us to question our programming. It allows us to actually stop and reflect and think and be like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this? And what really is the outcome that I'm actually looking for? And then I think ultimately, let the freedom that you gain from releasing yourself of these very specific resolutions, let the knowledge that you gain from the curiosity that you have about yourself and about your journey form and birth forth more intentionality with how you approach your journey and how you approach your own goals for yourself. Have deeper questioning and deeper curiosity around where they're coming from and why they exist and what they're actually really about. So that's what I'm going to leave y'all with for today. I'm grateful for you all to join me. I'm looking forward to sharing more of my own life lessons and journeys as I've navigated this past year of being an entrepreneur for my first full year, from the lessons I learned from being laid off, from so many of the lessons I've learned throughout life. I'm looking forward to sharing more of those aspects and more of those pieces with you all. So anyway, it's starting to get a little hot because listen, the sun is baking, brother. But I'm grateful for you all to be here. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to just sharing more stories and talking more about life and what this journey of life brings and how we can all navigate it a little bit better, or at least more specific to us. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. I am excited about putting out more content. And so anyway, let me give me something to eat and get this video edited, and I will see you all next week. So thanks for joining me. Okay, wait a minute. Hold up. I forgot to say, if you actually enjoyed the content in this video and you actually enjoyed this conversation and this discussion, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, posting, whatever you feel comfortable doing. I'm going to be putting out more content like this, more content around my life coaching, more content around my own company and organization, Elephant Stories. And it will revolve around conversations like this, more stories around this type of subject, these sort of subjects, dealing with the elephant in the room, if you will. If you've never heard that phrase, it's just simply saying, like, we all see this thing sitting in the room, and until it goes to the bathroom or until something happens, we ignore it. So I think that's kind of the premise of what I'm approaching a lot of my content, a lot of my stories, and a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about on my page. So if you do enjoy this content, feel free to share it. My podcast, Elephant Stories, podcast will be going live this month. So thank you all for the patience that you all have provided. For those of you who have been waiting for over a year, it's finally almost ready, and I'm finally ready to put some content out. So please be on the lookout for that in the next coming weeks. But until next time, now here's an official goodbye. Bye. Well, I don't know why I just crawled that, but anyway, all right. Goodbye. We'll see you next time.